haven't I, Bill?
Uh, I don't know. The last few weeks, I think it's been consistent.
Not yesterday.
Oh, not yesterday. Oh, that's too bad.
Yes, it is. You
Because
didn't get you didn't
Jeff
get my
just,
email about that.
huh?
I said you didn't get my email about that, I guess.
No. When did you send the email?
Oh, you know what? That may not have gone out.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because I didn't get anything.
No, Andrew was supposed to help me yesterday. Um, Microsoft and its
Uh, yeah,
it's ended mail, and you have to go to Outlook, and I was having trouble because the process they set up didn't want to take the email account that I wanted to transfer to
yeah,
it,
yeah,
and
yeah.
just one of those things.
So poor Jeff missed the whole thing.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that email will go out before too long. I'm not sure when.
Okay,
Sometime probably later today.
okay. Morning, Bill.
Morning, Bill.
Morning. How you doing, Bill? David?
I'm good.
I think I'm good, but it's saying my internet connection is unstable.
Ah,
Ah, I've heard you were unstable, Bill. Although
Where did you hear that, David? I need
you know,
morning, Joanne.
morning, Joanne.
Good morning, everybody.
Hi, Joanne.
On
Hi.
on our trip to China, Bill, I think it was on that trip I heard that.
That could well be.
uh, that was a great trip.
That was a great trip. Yeah, I was looking at some of those pictures. That one picture of you at Wudang Shan, I think,
Uh,
practicing was a really nice one.
yeah. Um, yeah, I was looking at those pictures yesterday or the day before, as a matter of fact.
Yeah.
Your pictures, not mine in this case.
Oh, yeah. Do you have all those pictures?
Oh yeah,
Um, okay, good, good.
yeah. You sent them all to me,
Yeah.
and I have them. So, Joanne, Adam is more or less with us. He has to go in and out because of meetings and
Yep. Yep.
problems. he was
Yeah.
just he was just telling me that yesterday they had 200 admittees waiting for beds.
Oh my God.
He said it has suddenly gotten really.
Is this COVID or RSV or all of the above?
I think it's all of the above.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, so don't go to the hospital.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
actually, on Saturday I got a call that my cousin had died and he'd had
Oh,
congestive heart failure and he'd had lung problems, but he got RSV in the hospital while he was there with the other things.
Wow.
oh,
And it's just always too much. He was only 79 now.
gee.
And I was going to go to the funeral yesterday, but the roads just kind of held me back. It was just because I had to go to Massachusetts, so I had to go down to the Cape.
Oh,
I
gee.
figured going over all those bridges in the ice would not be a good idea. So,
No, no.
Hmm.
but
Skating
yeah,
over
I
the
just stay away. Yeah, stay away from the clinic.
yeah, and skating on bridges.
I'm skating
Right.
over just yeah. I'm having cataract surgery Friday, so
Ah,
we'll hope that goes well.
what
Yeah,
fun.
that's a good one. You end up seeing better.
I hope so, because they're all looking pretty fuzzy right now.
Is your first
Well,
one?
but it won't necessarily improve when you're looking at us, but
That's probably for sure. Ah, Okay. Questions? How's your solar plexus cavity?
Empty.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, I'll take yes.
Yes, I know where it is. I feel it. I try to coordinate with the other cavities.
Good. Mr. Bynum, since you weren't with us last time, do you have any questions there?
Um, well, the cavity versus moving in and out the diaphragm. Uh, I think obviously the moving in and out the diaphragm with the breathing is something we really try to do all the time. The awareness of the cavity, when I've been practicing, I go through and try to, with sort of of each iteration, try to think about different things, and the cavity is more. I'm not in touch with that right now, so.
Yeah. Well, that's all right. That can come. Um, it is an um, important place to eventually really be aware of and to develop the connection to the lower Dantian. Um, as I was saying to Joanne last week, that when we get into reverse breathing, which we'll be coming to before too long, um, it becomes a little more important because we start um, having different movements in the lower and upper abdomen simultaneously. So that that of course changes the opening and closing of the two. So
Mhm.
so developing some awareness of that, if you can, is will be helpful. Anything for you, Bill Nagel?
No, not really. I think the coordination between the solar plexus cavity and the lower dantian is coming along more strongly than coordination with other cavities. Yeah. Uh,
Hmm.
but I won't, I'll take that for the time being.
One
Absolutely,
step at a time.
absolutely. Their proximity and at present similar movements of the entire abdominal area does make that a little easier. Yes, absolutely, absolutely. Well, I want to talk today kind of in a little more detail, certainly than I have done before, about the three Dantians.
Mhm. Good.
So when we look at the three Dantians, even though your um, breathing only goes to your diaphragm, the way in which it actually moves energy up inside is through the center of your body to the center of your brain, through the third eye in the center into the center of the brain. And that's the area that you're going for. Now, there are two ways you can look at your upper dantian. From a very ordinary, mundane point of view, what you're going to have is that the brain is the upper dantian. So that which will improve energy flow into your brain, blood flow inside your brain, better duosynaptic connections inside of your brain, and better neurology and everything which is inside your brain. All the fluids, the interstitial fluid that's moving inside the brain. So you are talking in one sense about giving the brain a workout. But if you really look at the three dantians, what you're talking about is that the upper dantian is composed of 40 brain centers. 40 little places inside your brain that do things. Of course, you know the third eye just in front, as well as the one that's in the middle of your brain and the one at the crown of your head. These are the big ones, but you have a whole lot of ones around the inside of your brain. And the object eventually is going to be to clear all of the blockages inside of your brain in each of these. And the eventual goal is that they become very clear and well coordinated with each other. A well-coordinated, well-functioning brain will make it easier to move anything that's happening inside your body, because the brain is ultimately what tells everything in your torso, your legs, your organs, your glands, and your blood vessels that they should move. All of these are being controlled by your brain. So just boosting natural brain activity is a good idea. But if you start looking at the third eye and Bai Hui, the point at the top of the head, these are in effect the end points of your central channel. They're very much responsible for breaching the time-space barrier, which Taoist meditation with Shen Gong, we all know that time is actually an artificial construct. In any way you measure time, it is arbitrary. Now, truthfully speaking, in terms of anything natural, yes, you could base it on the sun and you can base it on the moon movements, but actually time never stops. You can't really say where time begins and where time ends. You can say when certain events in time began and end, but generally time is always ongoing. So there is a thing that in the Indian and Tibetan traditions is called fourth time. And that means it is beyond past, present, and future. And that's really what time is. But it's not past, it's not present, and it's not future. And it's not the infinite now. It's actually something different than how we experience now. But you have that it's beyond past, present, or future, and so this also becomes something that has to happen within God's plane in the clouds, until eventually your experiencing of everything happening inside you is timeless. That's the brain center, which is near the heart center, which is not where the physical heart is, but along your central channel, pretty much right in the middle of your sternum. So I'm now, of course, talking about the middle dantian. I just want to reiterate here because I know that I have sometimes in the past suggested that thinking about the middle dantian, that it was where the solar plexus cavity is. Actually, it's not where the solar plexus cavity is. It's slightly above that. It's in the middle or a little below the center of your sternum. You don't have to know exactly where it is, because when your mind finds it, you can just recognize what it is. And the hope is that in God's plan in the clouds, you'll begin through the methods of Shengong, which the fourth part of this program that we're working on, just working on, you'll be able to start recognizing what things are out of time, what things are as something of themselves, and not just how they are in a flow cycle. Things start, things finish, and start all over again. Now, the breathing, the big thing about the heart is that the heart is the heart chakra, the middle dantian, and it has several qualities about it. The first one is that it actually is the place inside your body that kickstarts emotions really happening. You can't say it's the source. There is, for example, a very interesting thing that if you take the three dantians, they all produce electrical activity. The place that produces the most electrical activity is the heart. It's not the brain. You would think that the brain would produce the most, but it doesn't. And what you have down here also produces electrical signals that are actually pretty close to what the brain does. So when the Chinese were talking about dantians, they were also talking about something that has a very real basis in physiological life. So we knew that we know that this one is emotions. Everyone knows that. But that is actually not the main point of the heart. The main point of the heart is that, at least in Asian thought, it is the center of your consciousness. Now, don't get hung up on, is it the physical center or of your consciousness? Like San Francisco is a big city in Northern California. That is where the Taoists consider the center of your consciousness to be. It is that which is beyond everything. It is along the central channel, but it is the heart center, and it is the easiest access point to recognize everything that your consciousness, that is your consciousness, all of it. In that sense, when most people talk about enlightenment, the more common place to say that it is happening is here. Although some traditions say it's in the head and some tradition in the belly, it doesn't really matter. It's a very, very powerful center that also governs a tremendous amount of intellectual activity. The Chinese call it the heart-mind, because there is something that is in you that has something to do with the heart and something to do with the brain. That when the two of them come together is what the Chinese call the heart-mind. And the heart-mind is considered to be the origination point of what we call enlightenment. So now you go down to the third dantian, which is below the navel on the center line of your body and in the middle of your body, along your central channel. And that is the place where everything that has to do with your physicality, walking, talking, breathing, anything that has to do with you having a physical body. It is the center that not only controls all of its functions, it is also what is called the door of life and death. So there's a little bit about the three Dantians.
Wow.
Um, and I'm glad I can send you the notes because I'm
Yeah.
sure that's
Yeah.
a lot to comprehend um, all in one bite.
Although some of
Indeed.
it we've heard before, so
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
fortunately.
yeah, yes. Not all new,
Yeah.
not all.
Yeah.
So, but what I'd like you to do is to do a flow. And when you get particularly to the fifth and sixth movements, to try to be really aware of the energy as it moves up or down the central channel, passing into and through those three dantians. Okay? And just do 10 reps. You don't need to do a full 20 at the moment.
Okay.
Good. So what awareness did you have of the Dantians?
I'm, I'm not as sure of the Dantian's awareness, but I think trying to think about the Dantians gave me a better central channel awareness than I've
Mm.
maybe had before. I mean,
Good. Yep. Good.
Well, I've been trying to focus on generating things from the Kwa Um, and that meant this morning that things were still anchored down there and not moving, as far up the channel as obviously we would like, but certainly to the lower Dantian and somewhat to the middle, I would say, but not much above that. Uh, I couldn't access. So
Mhm. Well, that's moving in the right direction.
It's kind of a little like Bill, except except the lower and the upper Dantian, I was more aware of the middle came and went depending on where I was. I think it just that awareness. I have to say, I'm still struggling with 7, so I feel like I kind of lose everything at that point.
Yeah.
So that's that. But I feel like with the others, 3 is a little, 3 is just different enough to kind of also be a bit of a struggle. I think I finally have the form of it, but putting all the other pieces together into it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think for 6 and 7, one way I was trying to think about was with byway, which I don't know what those 40 things are in your brain somewhere. Byway we've talked about pretty much since the very first class way back in Colchester.
Uh-huh.
As a way to extend up. So, but that helps a lot for me. There plus the lower Dantian to connect that that awareness.
Good. Well, and while there is certainly an access point on the outside of the third eye, but there's also a major energy point in the brain, but it's in the center of the brain. If you went right through, because it's on the central channel.
Right.
Obviously, all 40 of them are not on the central channel, but the third eye and Baihui are. So that sometimes that's a help. I mean, that sounds. What you're saying to me sounds like a very appropriate place for you to be at this point with it, because it's not something that, particularly being clearly aware of the middle Dantian, doesn't happen for everybody right away, and will develop with time and practice. My favorite word, of course. One thing I noticed was that all 3 of you had looked to me like significant improvement in placement of the elbows.
I'm working on it.
So the mention I have made about that seems to have clicked out there, which is neat. It was a really good sense of getting the elbows into the side channels when possible and not lifting them too much. So that was great. There were just 2 or 3 things I might mention. For Bill Nagel, it seemed to me that the one place that you might think a little bit more about is in the third movement. It felt like your body was not circling enough.
Okay.
I don't know, it's a little hard to tell on Zoom clearly, but it felt like the body was not constantly getting that circle, whichever direction you were going, and that needs to be a part of that movement. Bill Bynum for in 5, it unfortunately looked too much like 2. Uh, so that's tough in 5. One of the, you know, the um, I guess I'm going to change the camera. What did I do? Get rid of myself too. Boy,
You did.
good work.
There you go.
Gosh, that's a real help, wasn't
Stand still.
it? Good old Zoom. Um, so, one of the things about 5 is that you are still sitting down as the arms and the energy come up.
Mhm.
And that's really kind of counterintuitive. It's not, it's one of those reverse movements that seems like, why are we doing this? But 2, as you know, as soon as your arms connect at the lower dantian, you're beginning to rise. Whereas with 5, as you come into the lower dantian, you're continuing to sink as the energy goes up. And then when it reaches the top, then you send it out and down the side channels. So the 2 are similar but not the same.
Would you just do that, David, one more time and talk about when you start twisting out in the 2?
Sure. So in 2, you're twisting in to the dantian and you're doing a qua squat. And as soon as you get the energy into the lower dantian, you're immediately twisting out until it goes out and into your etheric body as well as into the side channels, and then you're twisting in. And one of the big differences is that in 2 you're doing a squat, and in 5 you're doing a fold, which is a different movement. You're still going down, you're still moving from the qua, but you're not doing any significant bending forward in it. So in 5, when we come down condensing in 4, we are still twisting in as we raise the energy. So in this case, instead of in 2, we're pulling the energy up. In 5, we are pushing the energy up. It's different. And then we're twisting out, pushing it down, or pulling it down, excuse me, and then pushing it into the dantian and up, and pulling it out into the side channels and down. Do you have another question on that, Bill?
Yeah. So in 5, when we're going down, I've been thinking of that as the C curve, talking about how much we fold the qua. I think when you first started talking about 5, we didn't lose much height at all in 5 once we went into it.
Actually, yeah, it should. I was trying to make it large enough that you could really see, but you're right. When we're really doing 5, it doesn't have to have very much movement, actually, because you have condensed that. So
Hmm.
you're right. It's not. It is much smaller
Okay,
than
okay,
the. I was just trying to make it large enough that you could see.
yeah, yeah, that's all very helpful. Thank you, David.
Sure. Other questions in there?
I like the distinction between pulling and pushing the energy,
Uh-huh.
between 5 and 2. That's something I don't think you've mentioned before, but that helps.
You know, we do that. We go into that in Dragon and Tiger. Uh,
Yeah.
and I probably haven't mentioned it a great deal here. So, um, in that, you're really one of the ways to think about that is that when the hand is twisting and bending in, that you're um, you could be doing, you can think of it either way, but this could be pulling or pushing, and then when it goes out, that's more commonly pushing, but it
Yeah.
could be pulling depending on how you're thinking about it. But thinking about the fact that is the way you are moving the energy there is really what's important. Particularly in 5, that you are pushing the energy up and then pulling it out and down. Other questions in there? Okay. So, I'm going to talk a little more today. I'm going to actually talking more today probably than I usually do, hopefully, or will perhaps in the future. But this is kind of the beginning. You'll note when I send you the notes, this is the first class of what I refer to as the advanced section. This is the beginning of the fourth segment of this particular training. As I think I've said in the past, there are actually 8, and 4 is plenty for the moment. So, if you want to break down what's in a human body, or what's in a human soul, or what's in a human being that somehow ends up on this earth for whatever reason and by whatever means, that they end up on this earth, they've got 3 things that can possibly be going on with them. The first one is they have a physical body, and they want that body to be alive, awake, clear, and that includes your brain and your ability to think, and they want that body to function well. Now, why is that so important? If you go to any hospital and see people who are really heavily diseased and see what's going on in their experience of life, you realize why being healthy is a smart idea. That's about your body. Because when you're dead, you actually don't have that much to do with your body. The second thing you have is Shen Gong. Now, Qigong takes care of the needs of the physical body in terms of energetics. But Shen Gong is looking at what about the rest of you, your emotional body, your mental body, your psychic body, your karmic body, your body of essence, as to what are you, what you are beyond all experience and all of everything, which is necessary. Because if a person becomes personally enlightened to where they no longer have any essential conflict with being on this earth, that's fine when you're getting just to the seventh body. But to go to the eighth body, you have to transcend everything to do with this earth, which is almost, you could say, another kind of ego. There is just an ego, and it is the planet's ego. It is the way the planet's ego is affecting you to make peace with all the beings that are on all the other planets and stars throughout the universe. That's what you have to go to. That's when you have to go to the eighth body, and that's not part of what's going to be taught in this program, of course. But it is part of the Shengong process. So if you look at Shengong, you can simply think of it as meditation. If you think when meditation is done through embodied processes, where you are also taking care of the body and you're also meditating, when those two things fuse together, that is Shengong. Now, some people just look at Shengong and think, well, that's Taoist meditation. But it isn't, because the core of Taoist meditation practices are sitting, moving, lying down, and interacting. And those may either be done on the basis of Qigong or on the basis of Shengong. Now, if you want to progress in the fastest, easiest, safest, and most efficient way, then it is important to embody and fully understand what we've done in the earlier sections of this practice. If you just want to satisfy your intellectual curiosity and get a concept of what is contained in this segment, then and understand it, because humans are, of course, curious. Just don't try and practice it too much unless you have the foundation that's in the earlier installments of God's plane in the clouds was originally put together to be like building a 50-story building. You would build the building one story at a time. You didn't try to jump up and make a 50-story building all at once. You need to make your foundation strong before you attempt to go high. Another thought. So, any particular questions at this point? Comments?
Well, yeah, lack of questions doesn't denote understanding.
True.
Very true. That's why practice and reading the notes and writing down your questions.
Yeah.
It's not a bad idea.
Right. Some are like so on the top of your head you can't forget them, but some important ones we do forget, I think, or I do. I know.
Yeah.
I not write them down.
I think part of my comment about that is that I have regretted since Master Joe was killed that I had not A, asked more questions at the time, or B, written them down so that I remembered when I was in his presence to ask the question. Because you never know what's going to happen.
Right. You never know. That's right.
So, that's all I've got today.
That's a lot, David. That's
Yeah.
I don't want you to get bored.
Oh, yeah, that's part of our worry.
Yeah,
Right.
I'm going to work on those 40 centers.
Just be happy with 2 for the moment.
Yeah, right. I think that's a good. I think that that's the way to go.
Yeah, that really is another whole practice, as a matter of fact.
Yeah, no, I think that. Yeah.
So, great, good work, and look forward to seeing you next week.
Okay. Have a good week, everyone.
Yes,
Have
a
a
good
good week.
Yeah.
Watch your footing.
Yes.
Indeed.
Oh my God, yes. Yeah, too easy to fall. Rick did that last week.
He did? Oh dear.
Yeah.
Did he hurt
Still on
himself?
the driveway. Yeah, he didn't break anything, but he's, not been able to move a lot this week. So that's yeah.
Yeah.
It's just so easy to go if you're not,
Yeah.
sanding and salting or, yeah.
Yeah. Well.
Yeah.
I don't want to do that.
What's that?
I don't want to do that.
No, well, I stay in the house too often, but I can, I'm on the porch now and it's absolutely gorgeous out there. So
Yeah.
I'm okay in here. I'm not going out until I have to be in New London tomorrow for a lot of meetings. So yeah.
Poor Adam. I guess he didn't.
Is he even here?
Well, he was here before class, and he said he had a 9 o'clock meeting. It would be brief, and he'd be back.
My wife got too busy. Yeah, or the hospital got too busy. Yeah, I couldn't tell where all that noise was at some point when we were practicing.
Yeah.
Whether that was Adam or somebody else. But
I don't know. I wasn't sure either. So, do you have? Was there something I was gonna?
I don't know. I mean, go ahead.
Oh no, I just wanted to say I was really impressed. You have made real advances with how you were handling your elbows and your hands in the movements.
Mm-hmm.
That was very good.
Good, thank you. Yeah, I felt like that finally clicked.
Yeah.
In the last few classes, we kind of, I think part of it is you're reminding, and part of it is that like observing myself. Like I think I said either last time or the time before, I feel like I'm led by my hands, and I know that's wrong. Yeah. So I think even saying it just kind of reminds you when you begin to practice, like, oh, yep. All the things. I mean, I do have this kind of memory of, so it's just like kind of training it a bit to make sure that you're remembering the things you should as you kind of begin. Yeah, as you get settled into the beginning.
Yeah.
Really, that's it, right?
There is a lot.
There's a lot to remember, but again, it's like, it's like how do we make some of these things? Just like breathing.
Yeah. Right.
How do we make them so that we're not thinking about them anymore, right? So absolutely. I mean, I am, but I'm not, right?
Yep, absolutely.
So
and I'm sure you're at that point with a lot of things because you've been doing this for a while.
No, I have. This spring will be what? When did I start this? 22? Well, it's funny because when Bill said Colchester, I go back to Park Church.
Yeah.
That was
I couldn't tell you off the top of my head.
I remembered it because it was after a trip I made to, oh, it was 2001.
Yeah, I was going to say
The
it was.
spring of 2001, because I had, yes, I'm sure of that now. Yeah.
I think it was before the school was done,
Oh, yeah.
long before, actually.
Long before. Yeah, no, we were in the, when I first came, my first class, my first several classes were at the, in the parlor at Park
Yep.
Church.
Yeah.
And I'm sure because you all were, when did you go to China?
The first trip was 2001.
Yeah, so I came right before that. I came in March. I'm very clear about that because I'd
Oh.
been in India. I'd been traveling. I think I was in India that winter,
Uh-huh.
that January. And then I had fallen in Turkey right before I went to India. And so my knee had hurt, and I'd been taking yoga with Maria at
Mhm.
Con College. And I've always had one bad knee, but then now I had two. And yoga with one bad knee is okay, but yoga with two bad knees just doesn't work.
Oh
So
dear.
I'd been seeing your little ads in the bulletin for a while and thought, okay, it just spoke to me. This is the time. So it was March 2001.
Yeah.
So yeah, so 22 years. Yeah, I should know something. And it's always amazing to me how many people came and went and how many people are still
Yeah.
here, right? Carol, I mean, I think at some point, I'm not sure at what point I realized Carol was taking your classes. But it was after I think I started taking them that I realized that. She'd already moved out of Norwich by then. But anyway, yeah.
Yep. Well, do you have any form questions?
I don't. I do have to say, I'm, as I have confessed before, not as good at practicing the form, or practicing it as often and not writing down the questions. So, yeah, I mean, I have a weekend off, but I have no idea what my reaction. I mean, what happens after cataract surgery? So, what kind of energy or I will want to do or whatever. I mean, I'm
Well-
kind of assuming I'll be okay, but
You have to do whatever you need to do to recover from that.
well, that's right, and that's why I have not. Someone's trying to call me. That's why I've made no plans. But
Yeah, you will probably just need some time. I have to say my cataract surgery did not improve my vision. It improved my eyes, but not my vision. But that was because I have other things going on. So
right. And you knew that before the cataract surgery, or did you find out at the cataract surgery?
I really found out. Well, I mean, I knew what was going on before, but I expected more improvement.
Yeah, I have a friend who just told me that, somebody I'm on the Media Land Trust board with, and she said, yeah, I couldn't figure it out. And then they kept looking at my eye and went, oh, well, you do have something else. So that's not fixable.
Yeah.
I will see. I mean, I have some of the classic cataract, problems. So we'll see, I've held on. I've not been even wearing glasses the last 6 months because they just keep not helping and being more frustrating than anything. But maybe because they're trifocals.
Yeah, that can be difficult.
So we'll kind of figure it out. But it's also amazing how much you just adjust to whatever you can't do.
Yeah.
Which is sometimes time consuming, and then you realize how exhausting it can be. Just even not being able to really see things well, or needing to make sure you've always got your magnifying glass.
Yeah.
Because you can't read.
Yes,
And I'm a real reader, so that's difficult sometimes.
my reading has slowed way down. I used to
Yeah.
be very fast, and now I have to use a magnifier to read.
And that really does slow you down.
Yeah,
Yes, it does.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. But so yeah. So but I will look at I will use my third eye this
Okay,
weekend.
there you go.
And I will do my best.
Oh,
Yeah, I do. I mean, I think part of the problem was my Tai Chi space has been, taken over by, laundry racks and the like in the winter. So